Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's really nice to have you guys here tonight. I'm excited to talk to you about Sarah and all the growth and progress that she's made in the past few months since our last parent-teacher conference. I just want to start off by saying that she is just such a wonderful student to have in class. She works really hard and is so motivated, and she has no problems just jumping into any assignment that I give her. Also, she's just a really positive influence on everybody around her. She's a really good listener and really great at following directions, which I appreciate a lot as a teacher. And the other students, they pick up on that and they notice, and she encourages them to do the same, which is amazing. Also, she's just a really great friend. She does have a pretty close knit group of friends, but if she notices another student at recess who maybe doesn't have anybody to play with, or if somebody comes up to her and her friends and wants to join into whatever game they're playing, she has no problem letting them join right in. And I just really admire how she's able to play and get along with everyone, because not all students can do that. So I just really appreciate that. Over the past few weeks, I've been giving Sarah a few different assessments associated with literacy. Some of these had to do with reading, so I gave her some running records and some retelling comprehension assessments, and some had to do with writing. These included some writing samples, a dictation assessment, and a spelling inventory that I took. Since it's nearing the end of the school year, I wanted to give Sarah these assessments just to evaluate her reading level and writing skills, to make sure that she's at a place where moving on to first grade, she's going to be successful. She did really great on all of these assessments. However, normally I do only give 3 running records, and for her I ended up giving 4. The reason that I did this is because of the 3 original running records, all of which the texts that I used were at a level B, because that's her reading level. So of the 3 original running records that I gave her, she received an instructional level on 2 of them, which is really great. That's where she should be. But she received a frustrational level on 1, which was a little bit concerning. So I just wanted to give her an extra running record, just to see if I needed to reevaluate her reading level at all, or if it was maybe just an off day for her. After giving the 4th running record, she did receive an instructional level on that, so I feel confident that her reading level is a B, and I don't need to adjust that at all. Sarah has a lot of strengths, so many that we can't talk about them all tonight, but I just want to highlight a few. So one of the first strengths that I want to mention is that she's really great at recognizing short vowel sounds, beginning word sounds, and ending word sounds. And this just shows that she has a really strong sense of phonemic awareness. And the best place that this strength can be seen is in the spelling inventory that I gave her. And what the spelling inventory is basically, it's a spelling test, but it just provides a more accurate picture of what stage of writing the student is at. So when I gave it to Sarah and then broke it down afterwards, it showed that she has, again, a very good understanding of short vowel sounds, beginning word sounds, and ending word sounds. So consequently, I can say that she is in the early letter name alphabetic stage of writing, which is really great. To help strengthen her phonemic awareness, I'm going to continue using Countdown, which is a phonics program that Nebo School District uses, and I do that every day with my students as a class. So I'm going to continue to use that because it will help continue to strengthen her phonemic awareness. But I also want to introduce some sound blending activities with Sarah one-on-one, because she's really great at hearing a word and then breaking it apart. So if I were to say the word dog, she could easily go d, g. But I want to try giving her separate sounds and having her put the sounds into a word. So for an example, an activity that I might use is a who am I game. So I could describe a certain animal, like a frog, and I could say, I'm green, I live at the pond, and I sit on lily pads. I'm a g, and then say, who am I? And get Sarah to put those sounds together and say frog. And I think that doing that activity with her would just, again, help strengthen her phonemic awareness. So at home, to help her, you guys can sing fun songs, read nursery rhymes, or read wordplay books. And wordplay books are just books like Click Clack Moo, which you may have heard of, or Jamberry, or really any Dr. Seuss book is great. And these books help children experiment with sounds and create nonsense words, which in turn will strengthen their phonemic awareness. So the second strength that I wanted to mention is that Sarah is able to hear a word and spell it, maybe not perfectly, but spell it phonetically. So this kind of goes along with the last strength that I just mentioned, but this is really seen in the spelling inventory as well as the dictation task that I gave her. In the dictation task, I read her 2 sentences and then she had to write them out. And she didn't write every single word correctly. However, she was able to hit pretty much every single sound in every word that I gave her, which is great for her, for the stage that she's at. Is really awesome. So in our classroom, we do a lot of guided writing, but I think just at the stage that Sarah's at, I want to try and encourage her to participate a little bit more in independent writing. I think that will really help strengthen her confidence in writing and just her writing skills. Part of our daily 3 that we do is there's a mailbox section and students can go and write letters to their friends in the class. Usually I have a prompt that is up for students to copy and it says, do you want to play? Or what's your favorite color? And students will just copy that down. But I think what I'm going to do for Sarah is remove that prompt and encourage her to write a letter on her own and do it independently just by sounding out the words, because I really think that she can do that. At home, review sight words with her and practice reading and writing them. The majority of sight words can't be sounded out, and so sometimes students can struggle because they're trying to sound out a sight word, but it isn't spelled like how it sounds. So just review sight words with her. It'll help strengthen her writing skills along with the independent writing that I'm going to encourage her to do in the classroom. And the last strength that I want to touch on is that Sarah has really strong comprehension skills. She, during the retelling comprehension assessment that I would do, I would ask her a question. I'd ask her to tell me what happened in the story, and she'd be able to tell me, and with very, very few prompts. And if I did give her a prompt, like for example, we read one story about a little boy who went to the pond, and so I asked her a question, Sarah, what animals did Ted see at the pond? And she thought about it for a minute, and then she easily said, oh, he saw a frog, a duck, and I can't remember the other one, but a dog. She was easily able to recall what she read, which is great. And I'm just going to work with her during her guided reading group to focus on making predictions about what she'll be reading, because that's a good comprehension skill that she doesn't quite have yet that I think would be beneficial. So we're going to practice making predictions before reading a story, and then revising those predictions and seeing if those predictions came true after reading. So that's what I'm going to try and focus on with her during guided reading. When you're reading to her at home, you can model comprehension strategies for her. So when you're reading, ask questions out loud or make predictions about what you're reading, and she'll notice that. And modeling is key. Like, modeling makes a huge difference for students. And when you're reading, you can also encourage Sarah to jump in and ask her own questions about the book before and after and during reading. So those are just some things that you can do at home to help strengthen her comprehension skills. Sarah has a lot of strengths, as we've just gone through, but there are just a few areas that I wanted to mention that maybe she could use a little extra help with. And the first one is she has really clear writing. However, at times she does forget to put a period at the end of her sentence, and we've been trying really hard as a class to do this. You can see in her writing samples that sometimes she would forget to put that punctuation at the end. And I just want to help her move from being an emergent writer to a beginning writer. And like I said, we've been trying really hard as a whole class to remember that we need to stop our sentence by putting a period. So what I'm going to do is at school, when she's done writing, then she comes up and shows me her finished work, I'm just going to encourage her to go back and proofread her writing, just looking for the one thing, which will be for a period at the end of her sentence. So I don't want her to proofread it and change all these things. I just want her to look over her writing once and just focus on looking for that one thing, which is, did she put a period at the end of her sentence? Because I think that will help remind her and help her learn to remember to put punctuation at the end of her writing. When you're at home and you're reading a book, point out the punctuation in the book. A child's reading skill bleeds into their writing skill. So if she understands that in her favorite books, it's important to put periods and that the author put punctuation in her favorite story, then it'll encourage her to include periods and other punctuation in her own writing. And the second need that I just wanted to go over is that while she's reading, she relies a lot on the images in the story to decode unknown words. And this is a really, really great strategy to decode unknown words. However, where I get worried is that she sometimes relies solely on this. For example, when we were doing a running record, one of the words was a pony, but she just looked at the picture and said horse and then moved on. So I just want to help her use images in the stories that she's reading along with other decoding strategies to make sure that she's reading the correct word. So what I'm going to do during her guided reading group is I'm going to really work with her and encourage her to look at the beginning sound of the unknown word as well as looking at the image. So I'm going to ask her things like, Sarah, does the word on the page, what letter does that sound with? Oh, it starts with a P. What picture is this? Oh, horse. Well, is horse and try and encourage her to use her skill of looking at images to decode unknown words along with other strategies. Something that you can do at home is when you're reading and she comes across a word that she doesn't know and she kind of deciphers it, encourage her to talk about, ask her, Sarah, how did you know that that was that word? Encourage her to talk about the decoding strategies that she uses, because that will help her a lot as well. Overall, Sarah is just such a great student. She has so many strengths and she's such a joy to teach in my class. She is at a great place when it comes to her reading and her writing, and through the assessments that I've given her, it is clear that she has a really strong sense of phonemic awareness, which is great moving into first grade. I think she's going to become a really strong reader and writer because of it. And I just think that she's going to be really successful moving on to first grade. Thank you guys so much for coming, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I really loved getting the chance to talk to you guys, and I look forward to talking to you guys again soon.